All right, today we're going to be painting a sunflower, and with our sunflower, we need to start off with drawing our sunflower. And to begin with, let's take a look and notice a couple of things. First of all, there's a circle in the center, and then there are two different kinds of petals. With your circle in the center, it measures about 2 inches across. And then for the petals out here, they're also about 2 inches across. So you're actually going to want to make your whatever size circle that you have, you're also wanting to make your petals, your bigger set of petals, going to be the same across diameter that the middle of your flower is. Next, what we have is we have a smaller set of petals. Those smaller set of petals, they might be, I'd say, about half or not quite half the size of that. So these petals are going to be maybe about half that size. So let's go ahead, and today you can make your circle any size that you want here. I made a circle that's about 3 inches across. For your 3 inches across, I went ahead and traced that for my paper template. And then when we have our petals, the petals should also be about 3 inches across. And mine are a little bit bigger because I wanted a little bit more flower on there. So if you're wanting to trim these down and make them the same across, that would be perfectly fine. But sometimes as an artist, you can change things just a little bit. All right, next, I want to make sure that we get the flower drawing and you know how many petals to make. So on here, what I've made is a petal, or like a little indicator for the top, and then the bottom, and then straight through on their center here. So you can kind of see like it's going to be a big T in the center of your project. Now, what's going to happen is we don't really want those in your final project. Instead, what we want those just to be there to help us figure out where to place the petals and how many petals to put on. All right, so for this, let's go ahead with, we're going to figure out how many petals I want to draw. And to begin with, I'm going to go ahead and take half the petals and hide them. Let's go ahead with, let's take another half the petals and hide them. So then what I can do is I can count out how many petals that I need here. And the petals that I see 6. So then what I can do is I need 6 petals that are going to be from this area at the top to this area to the side. And that's going to help me to be able to know how many petals to put in each one of the sections, and it's going to make it look more like our sunflower. All right, so next thing is we don't want an X all the way across here. And by the way, we're going to get rid of these lines that divide here. We're going to get rid of those later in your project. Let's go ahead with the other thing before we start drawing the petals is this is the center of the flower. And for the center of the flower, kind of think of your flower petals working like a wagon wheel. So all of your petals need to be directly out from this. So if we take this and kind of go out from each one of them, that's going to make our flower look like it's growing the way that it would naturally in nature. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to trace my sunflower. Some of them can be kind of stacked behind. That's going to make it look like they're overlapping behind there. So just continue on drawing your sunflower petals around. Some of them are going to be in the front so you see them all, some behind. And they don't have to be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and take that one and kind of move it off to the side so it doesn't look like they're too straight. All right, so you're going to continue that all the way around. So let's go ahead and talk about these smaller petals. The smaller petals, you're going to do the same thing where you have your paper template. I'm going to go ahead and just draw mine on here because I want to show you something real quick about how to make these flower petals look three-dimensional. You see how they're folded over the flower? And a lot of people get confused about how to make that flower petal look like it's bending over, but I'm going to share a real quick secret with you. It's really simple once you learn how to do this little trick. So you're going to trace your flower petal, and on here, if we count these out, we've got about 4 of those smaller ones on each one of the sections here. So from here to here, you're going to want 4 or 5 if you feel like you need to fill some more in. All right, now those flower petals are standing out really stiff. They have no bend in them, so let's put some bend in them. So when I have this, you can take this and crease it anywhere you want. So I'm going to go ahead and put one right up there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I'm going to imagine it as if it's folded over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to draw the exact same point that we have right here, the same little triangle. I'm going to try and make it just upside down this time. You can think of it upside down. You can also think of it like it is in a mirror. So either way, that kind of helps you think about that. Then another secret is draw real lightly. So we're going to get rid of that, and you can see how it went from standing out straight to looking more three-dimensional. And once again, you can do that at any depth. So let's take this one, and I'm going to take that one down here. So you can impress people now with your drawing skills. I'm going to take the same thing, turn it upside down, erase anything that it kind of overlapped, and look how awesome in 3D that looks. Okay, our next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start painting today. And we're going to be using some watercolor paints. With your watercolor paints, we have yellow, we have brown. Also in the background, you can do just about any color in the background. So we've got several background colors here you can choose from. But let's concentrate on the foreground, the stuff we're going to see. So let's go ahead. I'm going to get some water on my watercolor paints. This is just a little tad green. So what you can do is, if it turns out and it's not so clean, what you can do is you can get rid of that. You can also take a paper towel, and you can just kind of put the paper towel right on top of that and soak up some of the green color that you don't want in your flower. All right, now with your paints, one of the great things about watercolor that you need to remember is that they're watercolor paints, and they are very, very thirsty. They're a thirsty paint. So make sure and put plenty of water with them. The other thing about watercolor paint is that it's not always about painting it all one color. We want some color intensity. So I'm going to play with some color intensity today. So with this, what I mean by that is sometimes it's going to be really, really intense color, and then it's going to lighten out. I kind of think of this, especially because it's yellow, it kind of reminds me of like lemonade. So if you've ever had really, really strong lemonade and it's really, really powerful, we're wanting to put that color down here at the base, like really, really strong, pucker your mouth sort of watercolor. We're going to take that and put that down here. Then, if you can imagine, I'm going to take so I just rinsed out my paintbrush and I got rid of a lot of that color. Now what I'm going to do is, this is lemonade that is just right. So you can tell that there's less color intensity to it. That this lemonade that's not making your mouth pucker right now. And then what I'm going to do is add some more water to it, a little bit more water. Make sure sure your brush isn't drippy. Now what I'm going to do is, this is like water. This is like lemonade that doesn't have enough sugar and flavoring in it. It's kind of not as great. So we're going to take that, and that's my color intensity. Same thing with like Kool-Aid. So what we're going to have here is, not all of your paints need to be exactly the same. They can be sometimes stronger and then lighter, and that's really going to improve your drawing here. So that one turned out really nice. All right, next what I'm going to do is, let's go ahead with on my same thing with my browns. I'm going to take a lot of brown. Ooh, don't do that over your project. You don't want to drip on your project. I'm going to take a lot of brown color intensity. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to erase my little markers. We don't need these in here anymore. So erase that. Watercolor paint's going to go right over that. All right, next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to work on my brown. You might want to keep an extra piece of paper next to you to make sure and test out what color that is. All right, so that brown is really, really dark. And the other thing is it's really fuzzy. It's fuzzy. So I'm going to take this, and one of my secrets about painting fuzzy stuff is I'm going to take...
Teachers and students, please excuse the interruption.